was born ready.
I was born ready. I'm here
You
with the
are
Rhino. All right, we're live, guys. We're starting a little bit late today, 2:30. Normally it's at 2, but with this virtual podcast, there's nothing set in stone. And this is episode 86, right? HAMMERFIST podcast. And this is our
87.
87. And this is our, 18th virtual podcast?
Yes, sir. 18.
Yes, sir. So it's guys, since this whole COVID thing started, it's our 18th time doing it with this virtual show, and so we're still kind of new at it. But I want to welcome my guest today. I got the local veteran in MMA, Doug Rhino Marshall. How you doing today, brother?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
Thanks for having
welcome,
me on.
Doug.
Thank you for coming on, man. How can you hear me, bro? Is it all right or what? The connection here?
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Yeah, we can hear you too.
Good. All right, good. Well, Doug, it's good to see you, man. There's a lot of great memories that we have with Doug Marshall. A lot of us older guys and the OG guys that came up in the MMA game around here, we know you real well. But I got a feeling a lot of the youngsters and a lot of the new people and new coaches, they forget so quickly the old school game that went on around here out at the Tachi and up in Gladiator Challenge. And yeah, dude. So I'm always. I saw your dad actually yesterday, man. I had a little visit with your dad. Talked to him for a little while.
Nice, the Wiz.
Yeah, I was chilling with the Wiz yesterday, and he's always breaking out old stories about you and your brother, which I never heard before. So maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But how's life going, man? And how's the gym going since this whole COVID thing is kind of mellowing out?
You know what, man? We're back up and running. I got my classes going again, so that's going really good. The whole COVID thing, I think it threw all of us for a big spin, and I'm just glad that things are starting to open back up. The economy's starting to open up, and us small businesses can continue to do what we do, and that's earn.
Yeah, dude. Like your gym that you run, we've been there. We paid a couple visits there, and you have a beautiful little gym going there and a nice little routine, and you got your clients and everything. Is that the only thing you do, Doug, right now? Is the gym? Do you work on the side, or is that all you do?
No, I just run the gym, just teaching my Muay Thai. I got a cardio kickboxing class. We also run personal training, strength conditioning, agility, all those kinds of things. I mean, I've got so much invested in, I would say, in my career and in the sport to let it go. Like I could go get a job at like UPS or something, but then I don't get to punch people anymore. And, I can't let that happen.
All right. That's awesome to hear that you're able to continue to do what you love,
bro. What's that, Archie?
I said that's awesome to be able to continue what you love to do, right? I mean, being able to do it and enjoy it and make a good living out of it.
Absolutely. Like every day when I wake up, I'm not, I got to go to work or I got to go do this. Like, I'm super stoked about the people that I'm surrounded with. I'm able to make an impact on a lot of the youth that come around to the gym and stuff. And that's something that I really like. I wish that there was a place like this when I was growing up, where I could learn discipline, get confidence, and just structure, and I think that's a big thing for the youth coming up today.
Dude, it's huge, man. And I remember back in the day and back in our earlier day when I had always known who Doug Marshall was, like just growing up, kind of hearing about Doug on the streets. And this was before the MMA and before any of us were training, just growing up here in Visalia. Doug, if you don't mind, we talk about a little bit your childhood because you had a different type of a reputation back then, and I don't think a lot of people get into it. What I love about it though, man, is a lot of people, we come up with these negative childhoods or upbringings or whatever we get into, the trouble we get into with law or whatever. But you took that and you made something positive out of it because, let's just get into it a little bit. When you were younger, you got in a lot of fights before the cage. Like I had always heard about Doug Archie, the way I heard about Doug was from street fighting. And
Okay.
that's how I had heard about Doug. He was the guy that got into a lot of street fights. Doug, can you talk about that a little bit? When did that start? Was that like in elementary school or junior high? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was real young, probably 10 through 13, I actually kind of got bullied. You know what I mean? Like I hadn't came into my own yet. I didn't really know what to expect if I actually got into a fight. And then I finally got pushed too far. And then I kind of realized that, I definitely can defend myself and I can hurt other people, and it makes them stop wanting to hurt me. So, then just being boys, boys will be boys. We'd go to parties and have run-ins with, I wouldn't say rival, you know, just other young kids. And we would end up getting into it. And then it kind of became almost like a lifestyle. Like we would start going out once I was old enough, start going to the bars. And you know what I mean? If you want trouble, you can always find some trouble at the bars. And we were fighting every weekend. And it seemed like the norm to us, work all week and then go and fight all weekend. Um, but I always wanted to fight in the cage. I just kind of wanted to do it as a bucket list thing. I just wanted to do it one time. When I started, I had a very successful flooring company, and there I am jumping on my man Dean. That was a good fight right there. The clip that's playing. But once I fought, I don't know. I basically, in 15 years, I've only had 2 altercations outside of the cage, and they both ended poorly for the other guy. But I just felt once I started fighting, I had nothing to prove anymore. I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. I knew what I could do. Other people knew what I could do, and it really humbled me. And one of my first coaches was Mike Sir, and I think I got a lot of humble pie from that big guy right there. He kind of mentored me in a way and helped me understand that we're not animals. We do this as a profession, and so I kind of adopted that, and led to where I'm at now.
That's funny that you mentioned Mike Sir. Mike Sir, me and Mike Sir just became friends on Facebook yesterday. It was cool seeing that old guy. A lot of people forget that name. But Mike Sir had the gym. When I actually met, like I was saying earlier, I had always heard about Doug, but I didn't really know him in person. Like I'd seen Doug around. I think the first time I ever met Doug was at the Visalia skate park, just hanging out with a bunch of kids. And I remember Doug came up, and I was always nervous to meet guys like Doug because you hear about a guy that fights all the time on the street and you think, hey, is this guy going to be a bully or whatever? But Doug was anything but that. Doug always had a real nice attitude, a real respectful attitude. To me, it seemed like right away. What's up, Max Griffin? Max Griffin is saying, what up, Doug? He's a big fan of the Rhino.
So Max.
Hey,
Max Griffin, friend of ours on the show, man. Thank you, Max. We're going to get Max on here pretty quick. But Doug, when I was training at Jabushi, Mike Sir opened up the gym Jabushi. That's where a lot of us, Tom Knox, Luis Gonzalez, Doug Marshall, Ron, all these guys, we were all together under that one roof, Corey Cass. And that's where I first met you, Doug. And when Doug came into the gym, Doug was anything but disrespectful. He came in with a great attitude. And even though Doug had been probably in more fights than most of us in that gym, that's the honest truth. In reality, Doug had to have been in way more altercations than any of us that were in there training. Even though we might have had more jiu-jitsu experience or whatever, Doug had this experience that you can only get from fighting with another man one-on-one. That's the truth. But when Doug came in, it wasn't long, Doug, before you decided to hop into MMA. Like, who was it that you saw in MMA, or what UFC was it, or what was it that made you say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to take that step, and I'm going to hop into that cage?
well, ever since UFC 1, when I saw it, at that time we had like a little black box that gave us all the pay-per-views and stuff, and I called my buddies. I'm like, hey man, you guys got to come check this out, man. These guys are fighting. And they're like, oh bro, that's just wrestling. I said, dude, trust me, just come and check it out. If you don't believe it, we don't have to watch it. And we pretty much fell in love with it. That was 92, 93. So I don't know. I was like 14, 15. And then I went out to some fights with my dad at the Palace, and I saw this guy, Anthony Araya, fighting. And I'm sitting there having a beer, and I'm like, dude, I could kick that guy's ass. My dad's like, shut up and have another beer, drunk. And I'm like, oh, man, like that. And so that next Monday is when I showed up at Djibouti. I checked my ego at the door and just was like, hey, man, I'm just here to learn. I want to get ready. I want to get into MMA. And I believe I kind of got the response that even I give sometimes to young fighters, because they come in and they're just like, I want to fight, and it sounds funny when you come out like that. If you come out and you're like, man, I want to learn. And then maybe later down the road, when I get good enough, when you think I'm ready, I would like to fight. I just stepped right in. I said, hey man, I'm here. I'm going to get a fight, but I want to learn, your skills. I want to go in there and have a little bit of a tool bag to use. And that's like where it all started, like with you and Tom Knox and Josh Green, Little Joe, all the old school Djibouti guys, which basically all turned into the box. And then, everybody kind of evolved from there. At one time we had like a nice little MMA squad at the box, and that was fun. Those are like the good days. Like, we were fighting back before fighting was cool to do. Not everyone was a UFC fighter. Now everybody who picks up a pair of gloves and hits a bag is an MMA fighter, or I'm training for UFC, or all this stuff. Like, we just did it. We trained. We loved the sport. Like, we weren't getting big money. My first fight, I think, was $150. You know what I mean? And then from there, it slowly climbed. And by no way can you make a living on $150 every 3 months. You're paying for training, you're paying for meals. As the more you take it seriously, you're getting on your diet, you're going to the gym, you're doing strength conditioning, and I just got blessed that I jumped in at the exact right time, and just stuck with it. And I met some guys that took me to the next level. Reed Harris and Scott Adams. Those guys gave me a shot in the WEC, and like, they liked my charisma. Then, like, Bjorn Rebney, when he owned Bellator, I remember getting a talk with him backstage, and he's like, Rhino, I just want to tell you, you are one of the most electrifying fighters I've ever had on my roster. And that just blew my mind. Like, this dude owns Bellator, and he's taking time out of his busy schedule to lean over and kind of just let me know how he feels about me and how he appreciates everything that I do. So that was awesome.
Dude, I remember the crowd when you first had that first fight against, I believe, Anthony Fuller in the WEC. It was an outdoor out there at the Tachi Palace. And people had caught wind, Archie. People caught wind that Doug Marshall was going to be fighting out there in the cage. And I'm not kidding you. Those crowds when Doug fought out there, and I am a little bit bragging up on Doug, but it's the truth. When Doug was going to fight out there, dude, that outside arena was packed. And I mean, when he came out to fight, that crowd was electrifying. So I could see where they got that from. And that first win you got was a submission by strikes, they called it. You know what I mean? And Doug, you won your first 4 straight fights out there. Am I correct? In WEC?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your first 4 straight. And then, like all of us, you face some adversary, and you've had a couple losses. But one of my favorite fights of Doug ever was because, like Doug said, when he came into the gym and he was learning jiu-jitsu from we had a pretty solid little group of jiu-jitsu guys in Djibouti. And one of the main guys was Tom Knox and Ron Holsey. They were 2 of the guys that were teaching me and Doug and a few other guys. One of my favorite fights, though, dude, that I always will remember, and I can see it in my head right now, was against Ariel Gandula. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Oh yeah, Ariel Gandula. Yep.
And it was a belly down armbar.
Vegas. Yep.
If you can find that one, Archie.
All right.
I think you can only find that one on UFC Fight Pass.
Oh,
okay. You might be able to find it on YouTube, but as soon as the UFC, because they own the rights, they pull it right off. But yeah, that was a great fight for me. That was my second title defense, and to this day, I'm the only WEC light heavyweight champion to ever defend his title. All the other champions either lost their title the next time they fought or just moved to the UFC. So that was pretty awesome that I was able to defend that title 2 times. And going in against Gandula, for some odd reason, I had a feeling I was going to win by triangle. I'm like, man, this guy, he's going to feel my power. He's going to want to take me down. And sure enough, the first check hook that I hit shattered his orbital socket. And then he came in for a double leg as I was going for like a Superman punch. He took me down, hit me with some hammer strikes. And then I shot up my cross for my triangle. And he was really, really strong. So I was having a hard time breaking his posture. So I just switched my hips and went armbar, came out the back door. That detached his bicep tendon in his arm. And then I, got the tap.
Those were the hell sick. And before that, I forgot about that. Before that, you got a submission armbar over Anthony Aria.
Yeah, so originally it was him that I told my dad that I could kick his ass. So they slated the title, or they slated the fight for WEC, and made that the heavyweight title fight. At that time, he was 2-0. I was 2-0. And then I got a chance at the title. I won that fight in 22 seconds. We came out. I hit him with a 1-2, bomb. He shot in. I sprawled beautifully, and then I got a little overzealous and went for the knee instead of creating my distance. He ended up taking me down. I went cross armbar off the cage, belly down, and that detached his bicep tendon also.
Wow.
Belly down is an ugly armbar, man.
It's an ugly armbar.
Well, there's no ending to it. As far as I can lean back, into the air, opposed to bridging up with my back on the ground. And that when you go belly down, it's very hard to defend and escape.
Dude, when you go belly down, it's got everything into it. You have your whole body, your whole core, and you also have the gravity against it. And to defend it, if you don't defend it at the right moment, you're not going to defend it. Doug, how many fights was it that you actually won the WEC title?
My 205 title?
Yes, the light heavyweight champion.
So 4, 5. I want to say it was my eighth or ninth fight. I think it was like about 2008, 2007, probably. Actually, I got the belt hanging up over here. We'll get a little.
Yeah, let's get a glimpse of it, dude. I'm looking at your gym in the background. Your gym's looking sharp, man.
Let me see. I'm sorry, guys.
Look at that right there.
There it is.
Not too many people can say they got one of those bad boys.
Hell no.
Yeah, I want to say there's only 12 of those in the entire world.
Wow.
I believe that's what it is.
That's sick. So, a lot of people nowadays, man, a lot of people already have forgotten about the WEC because it's not going on. You know what I mean? A lot of these young fighters, all they know about around here is the amateur shows that are going on. Doug, I remember right around that time, it seemed like you made it to a certain limelight, and then it just kept escalating for you. And next thing I know, you're in Bellator, and then you're in this tournament in Bellator. Talk about that. What led you? What was it exactly that led you to get that phone call from Bellator?
It's hard to say. I mean, I just got that opportunity. I believe it was on pretty short notice. I had to cut. Like I was not in like my I wasn't ready to take that fight as far as my weight was concerned. So I had to cut, I think, 22 pounds in 4 or 5 days. And that was really rough.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and I really believe they were bringing me in just as, a name for Kalahos to try to run over. He's, a Hawaiian sensation in his own right, knockout artist, never been knocked out. And then, I got the call. I said, let's run it. And then knocked him out. And I want to say, let me see if you can see it behind me.
Yeah, that's sick.
Nice.
So,
Those are nice right there. How'd you get those, bud?
I was really cool with the photographer from Bellator, and he actually sent those to me. And at the time, one of my girlfriends had it made up for my birthday. So yeah, super cool. Little memorabilia. You know what I mean? I got it all hanging up all over the gym. I wish I could turn front-facing camera on here. Can I?
You might be able to.
So what's cool
You're
is
asking,
this right
you're
here.
asking the wrong guy.
These are some WEC posters.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Signed
OG.
by all the fighters. Then I got my Rhino up there, and then another WEC poster over here. But one of the best feelings was when I got into Vegas, man, for my first Vegas fight, and we're just going down the strip, and there's a huge billboard with my face on it. I was like, oh baby, I like that. That's handsome.
Nice.
There. I like that. That
What was that like, man, seeing something like that?
It's surreal. It's almost like the same feeling as you get
In Las Vegas, dude.
Yeah, on the just right there. It was awesome. But that feeling, Tom, when you step into that cage as you're making that walk down to the cage, it's surreal. There's nothing that can imitate what that feels like.
There's nothing that can imitate that. There's nothing, man.
No, it feels like a dream. You're like, man, there's thousands of people. There's TV cameras everywhere. People are screaming, and every time I step in the cage, my coach and cornerman would have to tell me, hey, bro, wake up. This is not a dream. You know what I mean? And then I have to acknowledge, I have to answer them, you know what I mean? Or they keep saying it. Because literally sometimes it just feels like a dream until you get hit that first time. Boom. You're like, oh shit, this ain't a dream. Okay. I got to move my head. I got to do some stuff. But it was surreal seeing that billboard. And then as time went on, I see my face on the side of a semi truck. That was awesome for Bellator. Big, huge billboards for those guys, on national television, just out there doing what I love, what I train for, It was a great career, man. I won't lie. I'm pretty sad that it's over, but there's got to be that time when your body just finally says, enough is enough. And I guess enough was enough, man.
Hey, but you got quite a bit in there. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you ever get that wild hair? I know you're smarter than to do it, but do you ever get that wild hair in you that says, "Oh, maybe I can just jump in there and do one more of these things"?
Absolutely, I think that all the time. You know what I mean? And then so I'm going through a fight right now with some bad knee problems, but a buddy of mine got me some stem cells from Colombia. And I have osteoarthritis, which basically means a narrowing of the meniscus, the cartilage in your knee. So I'm bone on bone. So I get the stem cells, man, and I'm like, holy crap. So
how did that work?
Oh, bro, amazing. 2 or 3 weeks after I took the stem cells. Hey, I'll text you later, Greg. Hey, thank you guys for bearing with me. Come on, Panama. Oh yeah. So for probably a year and a half, I maybe sparred 1 or 2 rounds because I just, I couldn't deal with the pain. I've sparred about 40 rounds in the last 5 months. Like,
so that stem cell, you said a guy sent you that. You got that in, how'd that work? You got that in the mail?
No. So, yes, of course. Yeah, of course. So, one of my good friends has citizenship in Colombia. So, citizenship in Colombia, citizenship in the United States. So, he goes to Colombia and gets prescription. And when they bring it through TSA, he leaves the boxes right on top, puts his prescription on there, and then basically they said, okay, your bag has been searched by TSA, everything is in order, enjoy your day. And so he's able to bring it back because of the prescription, because of whatever. They wanted $6,800 here in Visalia to inject my knee with stem cells, and not even a 50% guarantee that it would work. And I'm like, nah, man, I just can't. I can't pay that much for something that's not going to work. So, man, I'm telling you, if you guys seen the Rogan podcast, stem cells are where it's at, man. Like
I hear about it all the time. I hear about it all the time on Rogan and on other shows too. And I've got a bad shoulder. I've always wondered about it. But just like you said, that price is pretty it's up there. You know what I mean?
So it is, but from Colombia, it's not 6,800. It's about two grand. And just recently during the COVID, I was here at my gym, and I'd been lifting really heavy, just trying to bulk up, just I don't know, having fun, and I tore my shoulder. So I ended up getting another shot of stem cell. This time it was only half a shot, and it basically healed my my shoulder. So today is actually my first day back, or yesterday was my first day back lifting. Shoulder feels good. I was able to hold some pads, do some mitt work earlier. Sorry, guys, getting set up for my next client.
So that recovery,
brother. Do what you got to do,
dude. And it healed my shoulder. Like it's insane. And the one of the crappy things is the U.S. will not allow it. Big Pharma will not allow something that, if you go on this website, it's called Human Ultra Cell V, and just read about the stuff that it cures. Dude, this stuff cures cancer. This stuff cures Alzheimer's. It cures sickle cell anemia. It cures arthritis. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm really glad that we talked about this, because I've been wanting to get my testimony out there about this stuff, man. Like, it's the real deal. Did you see Matt Hughes went to Colombia?
Yeah, he had this accident. He went to Colombia.
Yeah. So Matt Hughes could barely even walk when it came out to that to the UFC Hall of Famer thing, right? Could barely walk. It took him a while. That guy walked up 7,000 stairs in Colombia after they gave him stem cells.
Damn.
Crazy, dude.
So
what's up with Colombia? Why is Colombia the spot?
Because Colombia is kind of like Mexico. I think they're like, they can just get stuff. They don't have like the FDA or people holding them back. So Colombia orders it from. If I had the box, let's roll on the road, Robert Lee. I'm almost done here. Yeah, too, just doing a podcast. They don't have those those big wigs looking over them, so they order it. I want to say it comes from
here somewhere.
Is it Switzerland? Switzerland or somewhere like that. But it's legit. You know what I mean? And if you go to Colombia and actually get the shot, it's only $700 American.
Damn, dude.
Wow. So, if you go to Panama, where Mel Gibson's dad went, it's I want to say 26 grand, and they harvest your own stem cells from your bone marrow. They shoot it into all your joints. They shoot it into your hairline, and then they run it intravenously for right around 26 grand. But
so what you're saying is You're saying as a guy like me can get a full head of hair back or what?
Man, you know what? It might be worth the 26 grand.
Oh shit. Hey dude. I know you're real busy, man. I know you took the time. We only had a few minutes with you today, and I know you got clients coming in. Uh, so we're gonna let you get going here, Doug. Hopefully
Yeah,
we can
no
get you
problem.
back off. We can get you back on for a full show here pretty soon, dude. Uh,
Hey,
before
you just let me know. You just let me know, brother. I'll be there. You know,
Thanks.
before I
that
let you go
concept.
though, we got a lot of young fighters, man, that tune into the show, and a lot of guys that they're on a mission right now. They're going through this amateur rank, and they're trying to work their way up just like you did. It's a little different nowadays, of course, but I think a lot of guys, a lot of fighters out there are nervous to go into a gym and train with a guy like you. Talk a little bit about how these young guys can walk into your gym. Like it's open to anybody, guys. Anybody can go in there and you can get some veteran experience. And Doug's trained with some of the best people out there. Vanderlei Silva, Rafael Cordero, a lot of these other guys from Kings MMA. Doug, how can these young guys get into the gym, get into your gym and walk in and get a little training with you?
You know, it's really simple, guys. You just got to come down. You know, right now we have elite team. We basically have two locations. We have right over by the pizza place, the planing mill, elite team headquarters. There's elite team in Porterville, elite team in Fresno, elite team Lemoore, Paso Robles, Monterey, all over the place, guys. And if you see one of these places, elite team, our doors are always open. Feel free, come in, try some classes. And then myself personally, I'm here at Elite Team headquarters. And then also at my personal gym is kind of where I'm at right now. It is where I'm at right now. But it's just about getting up and doing it. For years, I said I wanted to do something. I just want to try it. I just, and it took forever for me to do it. I had my first fight when I was 26. So I was way behind the eight ball. You youngsters coming up through the ranks, if I would have had a coach like myself or someone else to help me, not necessarily cut corners, but lead me in the right path, the right direction, instead of just kind of freestyling it um, through through the maze. You know what I mean? Someone that can kind of point me in the right direction. Look, man, we got to work on your striking. We got to work your strength and conditioning and these kind of things. It makes it a lot easier, I think, for you guys to get prepared. So just come in, man. Try some classes. I promise you're gonna like it.
Yep,
Nice.
you're gonna like it. Damn, dude, and I can only imagine because like you were saying earlier, we were going through trial and error when we were coming up with you and
Oh yeah.
myself and other guys in Djibouti and the box.
Well, I
Before we
think we
go,
were training. We were training a lot, like in the old school manner, not really the scientific manner. You know what I mean? We didn't have all these great books that are out there from guys like Rich Franklin and is it Manny Gambarian? Is he no? Who's the one that does the crazy diet?
there's a
Is it
bunch of
Manny
them, dude.
Gambarian?
I think
Yeah,
Manning.
yeah,
Like
I'm not sure.
they have all these basically how tos out there, and they
We didn't have those back then.
no we
Hey,
had
but we did
boxing
have.
root
Hey,
books and
remember this
statistics.
guy? We did have this guy, and he's saying hello right now. Corey Cass says hello, Dougie. Hey, Corey was
Hey,
one of
what's up, Corey?
Corey
Dude,
was one of the
that
guys.
guy's a little monster right there.
Yep. And we talk about Corey a lot because when we were all jumping into the MMA scene, Corey moved down here, and Corey already had like 4 or 5 fights in MMA, so he had a little something to offer us. But thank you for tuning in, Corey. Doug, I want you also before we log out, just to say something real quick about your father because your dad. I know your dad played a big influence in yourself and your brother. And your dad, whenever I sit down and talk with a guy like that, like I just your dad to me, he's like an old classic model of a car that they don't make anymore. And your dad, I always leave your dad's place with a little bit something, you know what I mean? A little bit of different type of a knowledge. And just talk about your dad real quick before we tune out, bud.
Well, my dad's always been my number one fan, and literally everything I've ever done in my life is to uh, is to impress him. You know what I mean? Is to get his what is the word?
Approval.
What is it?
Approval.
Yeah, basically. You know what I mean? Like I always just wanted to make my father proud. That was
There
it.
you go.
That was my whole. I owned my own business. He was proud. I started fighting. He was proud. I got knocked out. He was still proud. It doesn't matter. You know, like everything I did, and I always wanted to succeed and take it to that next level. Now I own my own gym here, successful. We're putting out fighters, you know, between me and Tom, and he's proud of that fact. And without him being by my side and having that to kind of drive me, I don't think I would have made it as far as I did.
Nice.
You know, so if you're watching out there, I love you, my man.
Yes, sir. The Wiz is going to watch this for sure. All right, Dougie. Hey, thank you for your time, dude. And I hope you guys have a
Thanks for
great
joining us,
day,
Doug.
rest of the day. Tell your students I apologize for taking your time up, but we'll come down there. Me and Archie will come down and get a little training here one of these times. But you have a great day.
Sounds good, man. Come in, do some mitts, do some stand up. You know,
Oh, yeah.
we'll work the 6-inch punch.
Archie will let you punch him in the face.
There you go. Once. That's all it takes. Never mind.
He said, "What?"
Or the shoulder. Hey, all right, my brother. We'll talk to you later, dude.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take
All
care,
right.
Doug. Thank you.
Man, sorry about that, Robert.
That guy's crazy, man. He's something else, dude. I told you, man.
No, it was an amazing guy. I mean, he has so much history here in the Valley, and so many people follow him. I mean, from the UFC, Max Griffin, as you can tell, he just has an amazing work ethic and history. Look at how successful, right? He worked up the ranks all the way, you know, from Tachi, local fights. There was no such thing as amateur. We keep talking about that when back in the day. So right from there, he got noticed, WEC, and as he was saying, Mr. Bellator, the organization, you know, they ended up coming and knocking on his doors, and he just kept climbing, dude. He just kept climbing and climbing.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, man, like before I had ever stepped into, we talk about Djibouti martial arts a lot. Mike, sir, if you're watching, you know, we're going to have to get Mike on here, dude. Like I said, I just reunited with Mike, and we'll get Mike Sir on here pretty soon, but Mike Sir had a big part, man, with Doug's career and a lot of our careers, opening up that little school Djibouti, and Corey Cass and Tom Knox and all of us, we were all underneath that roof for some time. But when I told you, when I met Doug that first time at the skate park, like he had just gotten out of being locked up. You know what I mean? Like this guy, we didn't talk about it on the show today. He would have talked about it if I'd asked him, but you know, Doug went through trials and errors as a young man, and he found himself behind bars at one point in his life. And I know a lot of guys, dude. I grew up with a lot of dudes, including myself, that ended up behind bars at one point in our life. But most of those guys that I knew that ended up behind bars, when they came out, their life didn't go up. Normally, it didn't. Normally, when you come out of jail or out of a juvenile detention center, but mainly jail or corrections, your life doesn't go up. Normally, it puts you. It's not good for you. You know what I mean? It's just not good for you. And Doug took that, came into the gym with an open mind, and he flipped it all around. And before he started fighting, Doug had his own business going, and his dad, the Wizard. If you're watching the show, I got a lot of props for the Wizard, because the Wizard, we call him the Wizard. That's his nickname. But he's always been there behind all of his kids, the daughter, both sons, and he's always just influenced them in a positive way. But he would bring, the Wizard would bring Doug and Blake, the younger son, to every practice, and he would be right there, man. And the Wizard, I still go and hang out with the Wizard. He's kind of like a therapist to me. You know what I mean? I go over there with having problems with life or whatever. And Doug's dad, he's just one of those guys that can he can kind of flip it around, or he put you in a positive state of mind. You know what I mean? So that guy, I know he's not always going to be around, but I got a lot of respect and props for the Wizard. And thanks again for Doug for coming on. And man, Corey Cash, you ought to send him he's watching right now. You ought to send him a little link to come on here right now, dude.
Yeah, let me work on that, but keep going.
If you can.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Hey, and what about the UFC coming up this weekend? We're going to switch paths here a little bit. We got our hometown girl, Marion Renault, fighting in the UFC this weekend.
Yeah, we do, man. It's going to be an exciting time, exciting fight. She's going up against Raquel Pennington.
Raquel Pennington.
And
that's a hell of a fight right there.
You know, the odds with the odds makers, it's about even right now. You know, so it's going to be a good fight. Looking forward to that one.
Dude, that is about even right now. I know Marion though, like I know she's cracked down on her training right now. She's the last couple pictures I've seen of her, looks like she's probably in some of the better shape that she's ever been in her entire life. She's older than she was before. She's 42 years old. Does not look like a 42-year-old woman would normally look. She's got a full six-pack, and Raquel's 31. So this is going to be interesting. I think because of that, Marianne, she has taken this fight to a whole nother level, her training and the seriousness of it all. And man, dude, it's going to be something else. And Archie, I'm going to be having a little get together, a little cookout at my house if you want to come over and join us this weekend.
There you go. No, heck yeah, that sounds like a great invitation, Tom, because this could be a great card. And you know, the whole valley is going to be there for Marianne. Everybody's going to cheer her on, and you know, she's been putting in work. I mean, that's for sure. So I give the W to Marianne, and you know, regardless if it's in 1, 2, or 3 rounds, you know, she's ready, very experienced, and I see her coming home with a dub.
Dude, I remember at the box, man. I remember when Marion first made her first entrance into some MMA training. It was actually inside my school there at Central Valley Martial Arts, and that's when like Doug talked about a little while ago. Like those were the good old days, but they really were. It was a different time back then. It wasn't mainstream like it is now, and we were all still kind of learning off of each other. And we would bring coaches in, like different people from different places, different seminars. A lot of the guys that we've had on the show, the different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructors and different people we would bring into the box for these little weekend seminars, and we would pick their mind and we would learn what we could. And yeah, I remember when Marianne came in her sweatpants and a t-shirt, and there was something about there's certain things about certain people, dude, that you could tell. Like Doug was saying a little while ago, he gets these young kids that come in and I want to fight. I'm going to be in the UFC, this and that. But most of those kids don't make it, you know, through maybe 1 or 2 months of training. Seriously.
Right.
But there's a person like Marianne. I remember when she came in, she wasn't talking at all. She wasn't a big talker at all. I was just like, oh, okay, this girl's here doing self-defense or whatever. But she was there every day training with these guys, and she was always grinding and grinding and grinding. And man, next thing you know, she's in the cage and just kept moving up and moving up and moving up. And then next thing you know, she's in the UFC. And man, look at it now. 42 years old and in the UFC fighting.
You know,
she's got her own gym. She's also a school teacher, a very successful school teacher at that. She's got a lot of respect from parents and children out there. And man, can you imagine if it's your child that's she's the teacher of your child, and then you see her fighting in the UFC? Like, that's kind of a trip, isn't it?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. You know what I really like about, I mean, all these local fighters that have made it like to the UFC, Bellator. I mean, Doug the Rhino Marshall, first off and he was a big influence on a lot of these fighters that are making it to the UFC today. But like Marianne, you're talking about Marianne, how wonderful of a person she is, you know, teacher, great person, great school. And then we got the up and comers, Alex Perez, right? We had just interviewed him a few days or last week, and he's an amazing other person that came up through the ranks from the local scenes, and with the right guidance, with the right work ethic. You know, the work ethic is the biggest part that all these guys, these fighters have in common that make it to the big league. You know, I've been to some of Marianne's practices. You and I actually interviewed her, and we were there at her practice session. What an amazing, practice she holds. And we were also at Doug Rhino, not so long ago, maybe last year, at his gym interviewing him. And he too has an amazing class and way of teaching. We're just lucky here in the Valley to have these gyms, and we're just talking about the South Valley. We haven't even mentioned the North Valley yet.
Dude, I know. The thing is, I don't think a lot of these young guys, these young kids out there that are training and fighting in the amateur promotion, they're not taking advantage of going and training with these guys. Like, hey, you know how hard it is to get into the UFC, guys? There's people all around the world right now, in the Abu Dhabi, in the Orients, in Europe, in the United States, that want to make it to the UFC. The UFC is pretty much the top of the food chain for mixed martial arts. It's the biggest promotion that's on TV and everything. So you got all these people that want to make it into the UFC. Very few people make it into the UFC. Hey, but for the Central Valley, we've had a pretty good little handful, man. Cody Gibson, Joe Soto, Cody Gibson, Doug Marshall, Marion Renault,
Javier Ayala.
Yes, I'm missing a few, but we've had a good little handful. So it's
you know what, Tom?
Cool, man.
And not only can you make a great career out of UFC and Bellator fighting, but nowadays people are starting to make a career doing jiu-jitsu. Look at our own Mr. Cisneros, right, out of Elite. So he's making a career out of. He's wanting to go compete. He was going to go to Tokyo, I believe he was supposed to go to Tokyo, but that's just another avenue where you have to have that dedication to be successful and make money. Is jiu-jitsu, right?
I think he's going to Korea, actually, isn't it?
Korea. Thank you.
One of the two, but it's for big bucks, dude. Hey, man, that kid is he's no joke. Oh yeah, our jiu-jitsu scene around here is really blowing up. Something else. The MMA is one thing.
Yeah, there's organizations coming up nowadays having these local tournaments that are offering money, right, to the competitors. So that's kind of cool too. You get a submission, you get $100. Actually, even the 559 fights, they're having in-house submission tournaments or grappling tournament. The winners, if you get a submission, I believe they get $100, something like that. But anyhow, it's another opportunity to make some money while you're having fun at it.
What's up, Grandma? Got my mom peeping her head through the door.
All right.
What you need?
I just looked at that.
Oh, okay.
And so,
yeah.
What about the Fight Island?
The Fight Island, dude. That's a trip, man. The Fight Island, dude. For you guys that don't know about Fight Island, most of you guys that watch the show keep track of the UFC. But Dana White and the UFC, they actually did buy this island, and man, I thought it would be like closer to the United States, but when I think about it, the guy's doing a smart thing. Especially when I'm always getting these emails from the people from the Abu Dhabi trying to sell me gis. I'm sure you've probably gotten those, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I'm sure a few people have gotten that.
Yeah, so things are cheaper anyways in the Abu Dhabi. To buy stuff over there is cheaper. But Fight Island, isn't it? It's over there in the Abu Dhabi. Am I not correct?
Yeah, it's right off the coast, or in the coast there in Abu Dhabi, and so that Fight Island is just going to be used for fights. They're not going to use it for anything else. They're going to have a UFC what is that called? The Fighters Fight Camp, right, coming up. But anyhow, that Abu Dhabi scene is only going to be mostly for the fights only. Even though Abu Dhabi, they support jiu-jitsu, they support all kinds of cool sports. But we'll see how long they're going to be using that location there.
I see a reality show coming out of this.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
I'm serious, dude. Hey, it's like that movie freaking Bloodsport back in the day. You know what I mean? This Fight Island. But what about the last couple of UFCs, Archie? Like, have you been watching and paying attention to these last couple of UFCs? There's no crowd. They're just in that Apex Center, and there's no crowd.
And you know what? Speaking of which, right, the UFC has made the best. And they've kind of were able to adjust and they hold these shows right without a crowd, but yet they get some viewership though, man. They're getting a lot of viewership online, especially since they got connected with UFC with ESPN. The reason I'm saying this is because boxing. Bob Arum, or one of the big promotions, they just had a boxing show last week as well. and their ratings like tanked. They really didn't do that well. So we'll see how the other big promotions, NBA, Major League Baseball, football, basketball, see how they end up coming out of this. Are they going to get the viewership that they're looking for? Even though it's something new, we'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah, the UFC, I'm proud of our sport, man. Like, our sport's one of the first ones. We talked about it last show with Jeremy, that out of all these sports, our sport's one of the first ones to get back up on the mainstream and get going. But I got a feeling like the NBA and the NBL and NFL, they need a crowd out there, man. Like, they kind of rely on that crowd out there. It's a big part of the deal. They could do it without the crowd, but it would be different. The UFC, though, if you looked at the pay-per-view numbers, even though they did it without a stadium full of people, they had some of the highest numbers that they've ever had. And I think that they're going to build off something like that. And that Fight Island, think about this Fight Island. It's in the Abu Dhabi. And now, if you're a regular guy like me or you that wants to go and be a part of the stadium and be a crowd member, that's going to have to cost some bucks, wouldn't you think? This is going to bring a different type of person is going to be in that crowd.
Oh yeah. That Abu Dhabi crowd is going to be a different crowd for sure. But I'm glad they're still holding all the different events here in the United States. We have a large pool of fighters, and I think pretty soon all this is going to be merged, and everybody's just going to be coming to Las Vegas and fight here. But we'll see what the future has for us. Looking forward to more events, though. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely, dude. There's been a lot of them for sure. Many UFCs in this last month. Chris Ronquillo, you had something pop up there for a second, but it went away real quick. Did you get that? What Chris Ronquillo asked?
Yeah, Chris was being a little Chris. He was being crazy.
Chris, you blank, 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 blank.
Yeah,
I love that guy. What else, man?
Hey, so just kind of curious, we haven't heard too much from Bellator, from Combate Americas, from those other big promotions. What the heck? They haven't said much about their coming out party. Have you heard anything? What's going on there? What do you think? What are your speculations?
You know what, dude? I got a feeling already in the news, this whole COVID thing, guys. Like, I don't like to talk about it much because it's been talked about so much, but it's, I hate to say I'm telling the future or anything, but about a month ago I said, it's going to just disappear and it'll be gone all of a sudden. And now you're not really hearing too much about it. Still at work, where I work at Costco Wholesale, they're making us wear masks at work, and the customers are having to wear masks. But everywhere else around town, the businesses are opening back up. Thank God for all these local businesses. The dine-in is becoming a thing that you can do again. And I'm just glad that the businesses have opened back up, and the COVID, you're not really hearing too much about it. And I have a feeling that we're going to see Jeremy back in action, Jeremy Luchau with his show, and we're going to see these other shows. They're going to be back in action. So if I was a young fighter out there, I know there's a lot of you guys that are training and getting ready. Stay ready, man. Go get in a gym with Doug the Rhino Marshall. Go down to these different gyms. Train with Marianne. You can train with people that have experience and that have been in the UFC. Joe Soto, Cody Gibson, all these guys, they're still training. They're at these local gyms. All you got to do is walk in the door with a good attitude. Don't go in there with some punk ass attitude like you're better than everybody. You got to go in there with an open mind and like when me and Archie go into the gym to train jiu-jitsu, hey, what are we going with, Archie? Nothing but smiles.
Open mind. There to learn.
Open mind and smiles, dude. That's it. And tomorrow morning we're gonna get some jiu-jitsu, hopefully.
That's it. Every Wednesday.
Is it gonna happen tomorrow morning or what?
No, yeah, definitely. I'll be there. We'll talk about it here in a bit. Yeah.
I'll try not to weasel my way out of it.
Talking about the next show, Tom, we got some great guests that we've had in the past and in the future. Looking forward to doing this with you. Keep doing this. Keep getting the word out there. Local guys, veterans, up and comers. If anybody wants or has a suggestion who they want to have on the show, let us know. send us a message, get a hold of Tom or myself or Chris Ronquillo, James Gilliland. So anyhow, having a lot of fun at this, and things are getting better. Looking forward to when we can go into some dojos, right? They're opening up here real soon. So we're going to be doing some Inside the Dojos. I can't hardly wait to go to Santa Cruz and go check out some of those gyms there with Mr. Batata.
Yeah, we've gotten some invites now to go to do Inside. The good thing about doing this podcast, bro, is that we're meeting these people, and man, now we're getting these invites to go, dude. Crosley, Gracie, Batata, Chingina. We're getting we have the invite already to go into these gyms and do the Inside the Dojo, which, man, I miss doing those, dude. Those are fun, and those put a lot of aspect into people's eyes of what it's like to go train at these gyms. Next week, guys, we have a guest. There's kind of they all go together, missing the word, but a lot of these. Ooh, look at that, a little loop choke. All the podcasts, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts that we've had in the last month, they all chain link together in some form or fashion. They all came from Brazil, and most of them trained under the same roof in Brazil. But next week we have Marcela Calvacante. He's going to be our next guest. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's also friends with Chinguinha, Batata. He trained with all these guys coming up in the Gracie Baja system, and he would have joined us today, but he actually lives down in Torrance, and he was teaching the Torrance Police Academy, so he was busy today. But we have him next week, guys, and we're going to get some great stories out of him. And man, the guests keep coming. I hope you guys can offer us guests. We're always open to new guests, and I'm constantly looking. You know what I mean? I'm constantly looking, and Archie is too. But man, if you guys have suggestions with people that you would like to see on the show, or even you yourself want to come on the show, hey, we're not stuck up to any person or anybody like that, right, Archie? We want to hear stories. If you have history on BJJ or MMA, or you have something to tell about the future of it, get a hold of us and you come on the show and we'll talk about it.
Anything MMA related in a positive way, or just not MMA way, just people doing good things out there. All right, there you go.
See that? Mom comes in here, thinks she knows what she's doing.
So here we go, Tom. Let's talk about the sponsors and close this up.
All right, guys, we'll get into it. So, guys, thanks again for tuning in. We're always looking for more sponsors, but we got to give props to the sponsors we have right now. One of our sponsors, Rio Acai Bowls in Fresno. Guys, you want to get a good acai bowl? A lot of you guys aren't even experimenting with acai. Some of you haven't even had it. It's a Brazilian fruit from the Amazon that is high in amino acids. It's high in beautiful proteins that are good for you. It'll give you energy. It tastes great. And Rio Acai in Fresno, they got the real thing, guys. They got bowls that you can get granola, fruit, all the different toppings on there, everything that's good. La Enchilada Mexican food. Archie, what's the best thing that you've had at La Enchilada?
We had some chile verde with their chips and salsa, and I'm sure the rest of the menu is delicious. We're actually going to be doing some video shoot there, and I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, La Enchilada in Fresno on Blackstone.
Guys, we're going to be paying a visit to La Enchilada here pretty soon, and I'm going to whip out a wet burrito on your ass. Nah. Hey, Gentle Art CBD, guys, another one of our sponsors from Fresno. Guys, there's a lot of CBDs out there on the market. Archie's got me hooked on the Gentle Art CBD. I use it, and it's good for stress. It's good for anxiety. I use it for seizures, and it seems to be helping quite well. So Gentle Art CBD, they're another one out there. And guys, like I said, we're always looking for sponsors, and we're making new banners to be behind us when we're doing these podcasts. You want to get your name on a banner, get a hold of myself, Tom Owens, or Archie Tovar, and we can work it out. You know what I mean? Archie, anybody else out there on the sponsors I'm missing?
No, that's it for now. Those are today's sponsors, Tom. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to get that new banner backdrop, get some sponsors on there. We should be having that printed out in less than 2 weeks.
There you have it. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Doug Marshall, the Wizard, Blake Marshall, everybody out there. We hope to see you guys again soon. We'll get Doug on here for a full show. We were going to have Danny Valadinos from Team KO Farmersville on today. He got kind of tied up, so maybe on Thursday we'll get Danny on here and Team KO Farmersville guys, they just opened up too with all the other local gyms that are opening right now. Team KO, that's where I teach jiu-jitsu quite a bit. They're back open. The gym's open. They did a little remodeling. Place looks cleaner, looks nicer. It's ready to go, guys. So if you're in or around Farmersville and you want to get some MMA training or jiu-jitsu training, go and pay Danny Valadinos a visit, or Juan Pato Jimenez, and you guys can get some training there in Farmersville. And other than that, everybody else here in Visalia, me and Archie will be at Elite Team tomorrow morning at 5:30 if you guys want to get some jiu-jitsu. Chris Ronquillo, thank you for tuning in. We couldn't do it without you. You need to join us on one of these shows again here pretty soon so we can talk some shit.
Hell yeah. All right.
All right, guys.
That one, man. Thank you so much, Tom. I mean, it's been great. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to do this again. We're going to keep doing it.
Exactly, bro. Dude, I got a little buzz here off these few beers I had.
Easy now.
Tropic Thunder.
Next time we're going to do it from your place.
Now, here pretty quick, guys, we're going to be back in the studio again. We won't, even though I like doing this virtual, man.
No, yeah, I think the virtual is what we need to do. Keep going,
like
and then of course we're gonna have to keep going with the inside the dojos and do some. There's nothing like remote shows. You know, we're gonna continue doing those remote shows. But
we'll get the studio one in here and there. What I like about this virtual though is we can get guys from anywhere at any time.
That's it. There you go.
All right, guys. John Carlton, thanks for tuning in at the last minute. We'll get John on the next show. John's another one of our partners. Xavier Ortega, all you guys that have been hiding out because of this virus and everything else. Yep. We'll see you guys soon. All right, brother. Everybody out there, Thursday at 2 p.m. We'll be back.
Peace.